Welcome to Paw Print Academy, your blueprint to raising better dogs. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your host for this journey. I've got my trusty co-host here, Brianna.
Hello.
And together we're bringing you real-world training insights built on leadership, structure, and proven methods. We record this podcast with live clients on the line in one take with live, unscripted questions and answers. At the end of the day, this podcast is a lot more than just teaching your dog to sit or stay. It's about building trust, creating calmness, and becoming the kind of leader your dog truly needs. We do that with our 3-pillar method of trust, obey, and perform. Together, we'll show you how these 3 pillars shape every step of training. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, episode 19, jumping on people, why dogs do it, and how to stop it. Today, before we even get into the episode, I'm almost out of breath. I was plugging in wires and moving things around super fast while the intro was playing. Whew, made it. We are local in the Eastern North Carolina area. And the last few days have been wild with like record snowfall, which is nothing to most places that get snow.
Right.
But I think we got like 9 or 10 inches overall.
Yeah.
And well, around here that never happens.
Yeah.
And all of our lessons have been moved. All of our clients are running around, to work schedules and school schedules are all canceled and reworked, and it has been a wild turn of events in the last week.
Chaotic.
So we've got a couple of people that are able to dial in tonight, and so to them, just a reminder, you can use the meeting chat feature on the Zoom call, type in a question as we're going, or if you are dialed in on a phone, just through the Zoom number, you can we'll open up the question and answer session at the end, and you can ask your question then. Quick recap of a couple of different things here before we get started. So this week we start a new series on the podcast, which is Common Behavior Struggles.
Mm-hmm.
I said it right that time.
Yeah, good job.
But common behavior issues that we find in the home and in clients' houses, people that call us and are like, please help.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to do about this. So today it's going to be talking about jumping as like the main topic, but we've kind of covered jumping before, and we're going to branch out into, it's not just jumping, but it can be, it's pushy dogs, right? Dogs that are pushy, they don't respect your space, they don't respect other dogs' space, they crowd the door, they crowd the threshold.
Yeah.
Just in general, how do we work with a dog that does not respect your personal bubble? And what do we do about it? So we covered what was going on. With this, I would absolutely love comments on if we should cover if you're having a specific behavior issue that I'm going to go over some of the different things that we've got scheduled here. And if you've got something going on that's not on the schedule, throw it out there. Let us know. Send us a message, send us an email. You can reach me via email at ryan@topdogtrainingnc.com. And I can build a episode about it. because we want to solve things that people are actually dealing with.
Yeah.
Here is a quick list of what is coming up over the next 5 or 6 episodes. So 1, barking for attention, counter surfing and stealing food, digging and destructive behavior, overexcitement at the door, just general threshold management, pulling towards dogs or people on walks, and begging at the table. So
Love those.
those are the ones that are coming up. But if you're having a specific issue, reach out, let us know. Jen says she got 19 and a half inches at their house.
Jeez Louise.
You must have hit that flurry and had the wind
Yeah.
going against you there.
My goodness.
Said that Chenoa sank in the snow.
I bet. Checkers was struggling.
Right. Checkers, we put out a couple of videos, but Checkers was like a little snowplow out there.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So let's get started. Jumping on people, turning chaos into calm greetings. But why dogs do it and how to stop it, right? The jumping in general, it's usually not a dominance issue, right? It's not usually, it can be, but it usually isn't that the dog's just like jumping on people and just being like, ha, get out of my space. They're not advocating for their space. Almost always they're taking your space.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not really a sign of affection either. It can start that way where the dog initially learned they're just trying to get close to you.
Yep.
Right. But a lot of times it turns into something different. And that's what we want to talk about tonight. I was just in a home recently where a dog was in this pattern of like barking and then running away. And just as an example, right, it became so ingrained in the dog that the dog's not even like paying attention to it anymore. They're just doing it.
Yeah.
And people would be like, oh, well, you need to counter condition this and you need to desensitize that and you need to do this and you need to do that. You know what I did that would solve the issue immediately? I just put a leash on the dog. And that dog stopped barking immediately.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't run away. So they couldn't go into that pattern. It's like taking a record that they play over and over and over and over, old records, and you just scratch it up.
Yeah.
And then that thing will never play the same way again. Right? But when you put it on the record player, press play, it is going to sound totally different, right? So just as an example, this jumping often becomes the same thing. It starts as one thing. And it quickly morphs into this pattern that is more just because of over arousal and a dog just not really knowing what to do instead, right? Being in the behavioral vacuum that we're going to talk about. So where did I leave off here? So jumping is often a reinforced behavior driven by excitement, habit, mostly habit, right? And just unclear expectations. So what do we do about it? So dogs jump oftentimes because it works.
Yeah.
Right? They start because they want to get close to you. They continue because it worked.
Yep.
And then after a certain while, they just keep doing it because, well, this is how I greet people. Well, this is normal. It's not even so much about affection anymore. It's just that, yeah, when people come over, I hit a 10 out of 10, and then this is what we do.
Yeah. They don't know any better.
Right. So stopping the jumping requires changing the reinforcement patterns, not just yelling and pushing and kneeing the dog away, but actually changing what we reinforce and being mindful of what we're doing with it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Why dogs jump on people. So let me put it this way. So jumping overall is almost always learned. Very, very few dogs just are wired to jump, like on people. It's not really a normal genetic behavior. Always learned. Almost always.
Right. But I mean, it's just natural for a dog also. Like even when they're like little puppies, right? They end up trying to climb up you just to get closer. And typically it's because like, right, when you go to feed a puppy or do whatever, you have something in your hands that's higher up than where they are. And so naturally they're going to try to get to whatever it is that you have.
Right.
And you never have anything down at a puppy's level that they really like want or care about unless you get down there with them.
Right.
But 90% of the time you're standing up and everything you have is typically in your hands.
Exactly. And so that, I'm trying to like keep this in order. So that's the reason they jump up first.
Yeah.
The first time, right? Because they're trying to get closer to you, or they're trying to get something that you have, or they're just really short and they're like, that's how they can like feel closer to you, right?
Right.
But then we inadvertently or on purpose reinforce it. So almost always when I do evals, I hear, well, when we first got him, then when he jumped up, it was kind of cute. And like, I used to give him hugs, or I used to do this, or I used to do that, because you're talking about like this little 10, 15 pound puppy. Now the dog's 80 pounds and you're like, this has got to stop.
Right.
Well, we created that. So I'm going to really try to not go down a rabbit hole here. Hold on just a moment. Okay, so even negative attention. So we go down this without going down too many zigzags here. When you decide, initially we decided that it was acceptable. Or even if you didn't encourage it, you engaged it.
Right, because negative attention is still attention.
That's still attention, right? Yep. That still reinforces it.
Right. You still put your hands down. You still touch the dog. You still talk to the dog. All of the things that the dog knows, whether it's bad or good.
Exactly. And so without so much rewarding the dog, when you so much as look down at the dog and the dog gets that eye contact from you, that's called engagement. And that is rewarding to a dog. Now let's go down another path here and say that you don't reward it, you scold the dog. Well, there's a lot of times that is also attention for the dog. When they weren't getting attention before and they really want that engagement, and then they do something and suddenly you're like, no, what are you doing? And you put your hands down on them. You push them off of you. You might look at that as, hey, I gave him negative feedback, so he shouldn't do that so much. And that is not always what the dog perceives.
Yep.
And more often than not, that is something that the dog looks at as, oh yeah, that got his attention, or oh, that started this game,
right?
Or that started this. Yeah, exactly. And that's the accidentally rewarded part that we're talking about.
Yep.
Puppies are often encouraged to jump when, I already talked about that. Yep. Sorry, I went out of order. So puppies are often encouraged to jump when they're small, and that creates the problem as the dog grows. So high arousal during greetings also overwhelms the dog in that impulse control scale. And then when structure is missing, that can increase this problem too.
Mm-hmm.
The structure that we're talking about is this behavioral vacuum. If the dog doesn't have something to do, they're going to fill the void, the vacuum, with something.
Yep.
And a lot of times it's not what you want.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we're talking about jumping in this case, it could be applied to any of the other behaviors.
Yeah.
When a dog finds what gets your attention and gets you to zero in on them, they're more than likely going to repeat that behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So we can find ways to avoid that by or being proactive before it starts.
Yep.
And that's what we'll talk about on our second major point here. And I try to stay in order here because I have a tendency to jump forward talking about the next thing when I wrote these notes out in sequential order. The next thing, inconsistent rules can confuse the dog when some people in the household allow something and others don't.
Right. The big one with that one is if you have kids in the household, or a lot of the times, I'm just going to say it, when the husband comes home, a lot of the times it's the husband that is okay with the dog jumping and the wife is not, typically because women are smaller, right? And so it's just a little bit more inconvenient for us. But that is a lot of the times those big things where they are kind of teaching it as play, right? And so the dog then thinks that it's okay all the time because they don't know when it is and when it isn't.
And I think kids are a much bigger issue because kids are shorter, right? And then when they have something of value, and it's usually food, right? Because they're walking around and they're having their snack or whatever, and they pull that food in towards them and the dog doesn't let up and is pushing their face into there, being super pushy to get that food. And what do kids naturally do? They raise it up they're going to just naturally, they're going to keep it away from the dog. And that immediately turns the dog into this jumper. It's oh, okay, cool. The game is, I got to go higher. And then we get that reinforcement event.
Yeah.
That's not everyone's problem, but oftentimes we see dogs that jump in households with kids. And that's oftentimes, when you boil it all down, where some of that reinforcement comes. Because kids also, they usually have that higher pitched voice, and they're also a lot more animated. And so they move quick, and those hands are going all over the place, and those little fingers are all over, and it's just very, very fun and engaging for the dog.
Yep.
Physical corrections. Last point here. So physical corrections often accidentally increase the excitement level rather than reducing it. And so we go after this dog with a collar correction, or you try to slip your finger in the collar and go, no. And a dog that is really aroused, or their arousal level goes up when you put your hands on them, they're going to find excitement in that rather than discouragement. So watch out for that. I know we're framing a lot of these issues. We'll give you some ideas here coming pretty quick. What do you think most owners misunderstand in this conversation before we move forward? I think that most owners misunderstand what they're doing that is encouraging the process, right?
Yeah.
There is, I don't want to go down that road.
Never mind. I'd say that was probably, I think I had a different phrasing in my head for it, but mine was what they're doing to reinforce the behavior, because a lot of the times it's things like bending over and like getting closer to the dog. We will naturally do that if a dog goes to jump up, but then the dog's like headbutting you for one, and then it learns to more of jump in your face rather than just not jump at all. So yeah, I think that's the big thing for me is like the language and the behavior we're giving the dog to reinforce the jumping rather than discourage it. I'm really big on like just go like dead silent.
Yeah. So when I was struggling with the wording here was that I think that behavior morphs kind of in like phases. And that's what's most confusing to people because they're like, well, that's not how it started. Mm-hmm. Right. I understand that's not how it started, but you have to understand that your dog is a living being and it is constantly learning.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be the same now that it was.
Right.
Because they're going to change and they're going to learn and they're going to get better or worse or whatever. Mm-hmm. But their behavior is going to morph.
Yep.
And that's the hardest thing, I think, for people to understand in this process. Mm-hmm. Because they're like, well, that's not... Like, why am I correcting that? That's not the reason he started jumping, right? But he started jumping probably for a different reason than he's continuing to jump now.
Right. Yep.
And that subject can be applied to any bad behavior around the house. Because what they're doing now probably morphed from what they originally were doing.
Yeah.
There you go. How does inconsistent reinforcement keep the jumping alive?
It shows them that sometimes, I think for one, it shows the dog that sometimes it's okay, right? But two, it shows them that, I guess it's kind of the same thing in a way, but that there's no, it's not black or white, right? There's like some gray area. And a dog is very like black and white. It's like yes or no.
Yeah.
It's not like sometimes yes, sometimes no. Maybe if you're in this room, but not in that room. Maybe with this person, but not that person. A dog is like, can I jump? Yes or no?
So last week, I went down this rabbit hole on this science thing about the fastest way to reward or the most efficient way to reward your dog and build the most motivation. And I identified that as the variable ratio approach, where this is the same concept as a casino and how the slot machines get you addicted to continuing to play. The reason it gets you addicted is because it's just enough of a reinforcement ratio to keep you guessing and want it even more. Well, that's what happens with an inconsistent reinforcement situation. If you are reinforcing it sometimes and you're punishing it others, you will make the dog drive harder because you're inconsistent. Because that is the same thing, just flipped on its end as variable ratio rewarding.
Yep.
All right. What not to do when addressing jumping. Man, I wrote this with a lot of negatives in it. Let's work through it. So many common responses actually strengthen the behavior that we're trying to get to stop. We can talk to them. We can yell. We can touch them. We can use eye contact. But all of those things reward the dog. Even pushing the dog off can oftentimes turn this whole thing into a game.
Yep, because then you're in a wrestling match.
Yep. So the number one, pretty much across all the books, is ignore the behavior in the moment. ignore the behavior completely. Completely check out. You cannot reinforce that by any means. And we've talked about a whole bunch of ways that we accidentally reinforce it. Mm-hmm. The next level to this is we prevent it before it starts. And that we'll cover in a minute.
Yep.
Along the same lines of things that aren't going to work is waiting for the dog to just grow out of it.
Yeah, they're not.
It's not going to work. Dogs usually grow into things, not out of them.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite lines.
So punishing a dog without teaching him an alternative is going to lead to that same behavioral vacuum that we've talked about. Mm-hmm. You are punishing the fact that they're doing something you don't want them to do, but you've given them nothing else to do.
Yep.
And it's not, I don't want you to jump. It's actually, I want you to sit, or I want you to down, or I want you to go to your place. Yep. So correcting, and the last thing on this is correcting only after the jumping starts is reactive. And what we're talking about, what we're suggesting is we need to go preventative. So now let's talk about that. How do we teach that politeness when the dog is making greetings and when they're coming to see you? One, teach the dog an incompatible behavior. Mm-hmm. Your dog cannot sit and jump on you at the same time.
Right.
Your dog can't place and jump on you or jump on guests at the same time. Mm-hmm. So that's an example of something you want the dog to do instead.
Yeah.
What are some others? I mean, sit down, place. What's some other things you've seen?
Walking them over to the guest, and if they jump up, walking them away from the guest. So using a leash to kind of remove them from what they want.
Okay. Yep, that's a little more reactive.
Right. Well, yeah, I guess preventative, is always like place for me, pretty much.
Yeah. I think even a heel inside.
Yeah.
Right. It's still a proximity to you and not to the guest.
Yeah.
So that can work. Manage the environment. So what Brianna's talking about, manage the environment with a leash, right? Leashes, doors, clear expectations. When we put a leash on a dog, now we have accountability. When we use an e-collar on a dog, now we have accountability. Those things are only as good as us and our use of them to communicate to the dog what to do. Mm-hmm. What we're not advocating for here, even though it may be necessary at some point, but it's really our last line of defense, is we're not even advocating for correcting the dog. We're advocating for preventing the behavior.
Yeah.
You're going to be way more successful with that. Managing and preventing bad behavior is way more successful than correcting a dog for it.
Right, because what I'll always encourage people to do is like early on when your dog is a puppy, teach your puppy to go to their place, and they should be on place when guests come over. And they should just hang out on place while guests are there for the first like good while so that they learn that just because people come over doesn't mean that they get to leave their place and roam around and get all these pets and get ramped up and excited, because that's just going to build a habit in the level of excitement every time someone rings that doorbell. And then you wonder why they rush the door or why they jump on people. It's because every time someone exciting comes over and pets them and gets excited with them and does all these things. But if your puppy can learn to just be ignored in the first few months of its life, it's going to change how the next few months go for you.
Yeah, or the next few years.
Or years, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So the way that we reduce reactivity with dogs is we teach dogs that other dogs are just scenery. We can see dogs. We don't have to meet dogs. Well, the same thing goes with people. you can teach them that guests are just scenery. That doesn't mean just because someone walked through the door doesn't mean that they get to go see them.
Yeah, they do not
Now,
have to get pet by strangers.
At some point, the thing that you have to hold yourself back from is your own guilt, your own sadness that, oh, well, I really want them to meet these people. Okay, that's fine. But just know that you're opening the door to some of these other behaviors if you have reinforced them previously.
Right. You know what might be great for the people and your puppy is do it in the last like 5 minutes before everybody leaves.
Right.
And then just make it like 5 minutes and then everybody's gone.
Yeah.
And then it builds up this excitement and then the puppy gets to relax because everybody's leaving. It's not this prolonged like time period of the puppy just being amped up, amped up, amped up, amped up. And then also it prevents you from clashing with your puppy or dog where you let them kind of free roam, right? Get all this like excitement going. And then you take them out of that and put them in a kennel, put them back on place, do something and remove them from the fun. And then you're at odds with your dog because now they're upset that they're not able to like still be a part of it.
They got all of this huge dopamine dump.
Yeah.
And then you took it away.
Right. Whereas like they won't feel the same because the people leave. Right. So it's like, cool. The last like 5-10 minutes, give your dog some time to like socialize with the guests and like then they can pet the dog. But that will give them the rest of the time just to like watch the people go by, or even if they're in a separate room and they just have to listen to all the stuff that's like going on, then it gives them time to process it and come down from the level of like where they're at when people come over.
Yeah. And for when people tell me that, well, but it takes so much time and effort to get the dog to go back to their place and keep like reinforcing this. Well, I just want to point out that jumping in this case is also a learned activity and you taught him that.
Yeah, it takes way longer to reverse
It
jumping.
takes way longer to reverse, but you did it, right? So we've got to put in the work.
Right.
There's no magic button.
Just be really boring with it and be like, nope, place.
And not only that, reward the behavior you want the same way that you accidentally rewarded the behavior you didn't want. So we accidentally rewarded the jumping when we first initially taught it to the dog, or the dog did it and we reinforced it by looking at them, engaging them, rewarding them with our contact, with our attention.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do the same thing, but reward them for calmness.
Yeah.
So when they're on their place bed and they don't rush your guest for 10 whole seconds, tell them good job.
Mm-hmm.
And go over there and give them pets, or go over there and give them a treat, or go over there, reward them for that calmness. And then if they get ramped up, immediately remove that and show them, oh, that's not a successful strategy.
Mm-hmm.
But reward the one that you do want.
Right, and give them a bone to chew on or something while the guests are there, right?
Yeah, make
Show
it a
them that
good
that's
activity.
That's what they get when guests come over. They get a bone on their place bed.
Yeah.
And then if they get up with it, just walk over, pick up the bone, put it back on their place bed.
Because dogs will do whatever you consistently allow them or reinforce them to do.
Yeah.
They're pattern-based creatures. All right. Practice structured greetings so the dog gets to rehearse this in a successful environment.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can do that by setting up these greetings, but you can also do it like Brianna said, wait until the end and then talk through what you're going to do. So the person comes over, you're dealing with the dog, you get the dog onto place or into a crate, and we just ignore and we check out, we give them a bone, whatever, through all of the strategies we just talked about. And at the end, then you talk through it with the guest. Hey, I'd really love for my dog to meet you. Can we do it like this?
Yeah, because if you try to do like a calm greeting with your guest right after the doorbell rings and they come through that threshold, it's not going to go well ever because your dog's going to be at like an 11 out of 10 most of the time. And so you're not going to be able to have a successful, calm greeting if the dog is not already calm.
Right. But if they're down at a 4 or 5,
Yep.
and then you release them in order to meet the guest, they're going to jack up to a 7 or an 8.
Yeah.
But they're still not going to be at a 10.
Yep.
And that will assist you dramatically in maintaining some level of control in the home.
Also, do guest greetings like with your family members, right? The dog is going to be excited to like greet mom and dad like when they come home too. So start practicing those, right? And you could have somebody go outside, count to, 30 and come back in. It can be, a kid, an adult, anybody in the household, and you can still get the dog amped up and excited to see you.
Oh, yeah.
By using tones and body language and all these things, and then have the person holding the leash work through that. There should be unlimited amounts of like guest greetings that you can kind of do where the dog is not going to be excited to kind of see someone,
Yeah. The last one I've got here is that you need to have a conversation with your family members, especially all the adults, but include the kids too. And you need consistency. You've got to be on the same page. You've got to talk through it and be like, cool, this is the strategy. These are the steps. Mm-hmm. You know what I have yet to see in any dog household that I go into when I first get there to do an eval? No one has ever written out like a plan of this is how we do these activities. This is how we go outside. This is how we go through the door. This is how we, this is the process, right? And if I ask one, like the husband, and then I ask the wife, almost always there's small little tweaks in the process. Mm-hmm. Now, what I'm not saying that everything about dog training has to ruin the excitement and the spontaneity of owning a dog.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that the people that struggle the most with behavioral issues are usually the ones that are the least consistent across the board.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Almost always. And not the least consistent in human terms, like how we would grade each other. We're like, oh, well, that's understandable. You got to look through it. You got to look at it through your dog's eyes. Mm-hmm. Are you consistent in your dog's eyes?
Yeah.
Because that's what matters.
Yep.
It's just like the motivation thing. It's like, but does your dog have motivation? Because I just finished filming an episode for some coursework that we're working on, and the concept of like, well, when do I get to stop using treats? Well, when do I get to stop treating my dog? You mean when do you not have to motivate them?
Right.
You mean when do you not have to pay them?
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean? Because not giving your dog food treats forever, cool, got it. Yep, I'm on board. But you can only fade those out when you've built motivation in other ways.
Yep.
If you don't have any engagement with your dog, you don't have any you're not going to be able to motivate your dog to do anything without food or toys. Mm-hmm. Maybe love and affection, if that's what your dog loves, right? But you've got to give your dog some sort of motivation. And so and your dog dictates that. There's no version of this that you get to dictate what is going to motivate your dog. It's always on the dog's schedule. Mm-hmm. All right. That aside, Brianna, what is your favorite replacement behavior for chronic jumpers?
Place. All day.
He loves place.
I do. I love place. I get asked all the time, and it's like I just answered this question the other day, and it's like, well, how long is like too long to hang out on place? I'm like, never. It's like, cool. Like if you could stay in bed and relax all day, would you? Because like I would. And most of the time, like our dogs now, you don't tell them to go to place, and most of the time you look over and they're like laying on their place bed because what else are they gonna do? Lay on the ground? Because eventually that's what your dog does, right? They eventually lay down on the ground. If not, they're pacing, and that's anxious behavior, and that's not good for anyone. But your dog's going to lay down eventually, and that's what place is for.
Right, that's what dogs do.
They're just going to lay
down
on that
yeah,
instead.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so sometimes I ask for it, sometimes I don't. But most of the time, I just naturally am like, okay, place.
Yeah.
And then they never like fight me on it unless something exciting is going on.
Right.
But that's definitely my like go-to behavior, right? Because you can move a place bed, you can put it anywhere, you can have multiples, you can put it across the room, you can move it inches, centimeters, whatever you need to. But there's so many options with place.
Yeah. Because place doesn't have to be this exact bed. It can also be a different space, right?
Yeah.
You can put down a towel or a pad or a this or a that.
Yeah.
What you're doing with place, it's not about the bed that they're laying in. It's about you gave them a position.
Yeah.
You gave them a job.
Yeah.
And so the reason we like our dogs laying on place and the reason why we pattern it so much that they also choose their place beds to go lay down is because they've done it so many times. They're like, they've built value in their minds in those spaces. That's where they chew on bones. We don't let the dogs, because we have 4 dogs. So we don't let the dogs just chew on bones willy-nilly throughout the house, because otherwise we'll start competitions over the bones. Right? They love, if something does spook the dogs, and our dogs, they're not perfect. They're not robots, right? They get up off of their place beds. Something happens or they hear a noise and, hey, I need to check this out or whatever. Whatever happens, one dog leaves their place bed and their bone is on the place. The other dogs will bolt across the room to take that bone. Why? No reason other than that's what they had.
Yeah.
Because they all have the same bones.
They're like, oh my gosh, a free one.
Oh my goodness, I got to go get it. Right.
I got to get an extra.
And then we have to, put them back on their respective places or be like, no, that one's not yours. That one's yours.
Right. But it's
but
because
those things aside.
It's like paying a human to hang out in bed all day. It's like, why would you not take that job? I would take that job. It's like, cool. Yeah. Just bring me my food here.
Yeah.
This is fine.
But just to sum up what I was going for, those bones, because I don't just give them a bone and be like, go ahead and go chew on it wherever you want. That is an activity that they do on their place beds. And that has started to build value of that space in their minds.
Yeah.
So then they go to it automatically because, hey, I get good things here. I get pets. I get attention on my place. We don't send dogs to place and then never pet them.
Yeah.
We don't send dogs to place and then not talk to them. We give them attention when they're on place. Yeah. And when they're not on place, that's when we tune them out. That's when we ignore them. That's when it's just a transit from the door to here or they're following me around, right? But I'm not engaging them. I'm not giving them that attention and building that pack drive when they're not doing something that I want them to do. That's how you build that value. Okay. Structured practice sessions. What's your advice for before the guests even arrive?
Oh, I
how
think
do you
already kind of said it, right?
Well, we talked about like at the end. The other version of this, right, is you go outside before the guest comes in.
Yeah.
And you just explain it. You do not, I really want to advocate for people to not feel embarrassed by explaining to someone how hard you've been working at not reinforcing your dog to either jump or to behave in a crazy way.
Yeah.
So when someone comes over and you stick your head out the door and you're like, hey, I've been working real hard on this. I just want to let you know this is the best way that I found to do this. Can you please just ignore my dog? I'm going to work with him the best I can, but he might jump once or twice and then he'll lose interest and I'll manage it. But can you just try real hard not to make any eye contact or like reach your hands down when he comes over?
Yeah.
That can go a long, long ways in explaining to them what you're working on. And then people are a lot more apt to be like, oh, yeah, no problem. Yeah, my dog does this or I've seen this or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't need to be embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
Because I think most people understand how hard it is to work through some of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Last one. What do you suggest? How do you keep, or what do you do to keep guests from sabotaging it, right? I know you could talk through, but the only thing that I can think of, how do you keep guests from sabotaging your reinforcement events here? If you have a guest that just cannot keep their hands to themselves, right? And they just want to pet that dog, right? Mm. That's when you identify that guest, that's when your dog's got to go on a leash.
Yeah, either that or I'm like, yeah, just like
or in a crate.
And like, yeah, just go in the kennel and like tap out on this one. It's fine.
Because when you get a guest that just cannot respect those boundaries for you to work through those things, then it's probably not worth battling.
Yeah, and usually that goes for like kids that are too young to understand instructions and adults who don't know what boundaries are.
Right. I want to pet that dog.
Yeah. I could name people. So
for those guests, and if you know that that's a guest, because I've heard this before. Oh my.
You can call them out.
It's usually the sister-in-law. It's not the brother-in-law. Just saying. It's like, oh, she just loves dogs so much. When that happens, right? Just go into a management scenario rather than a corrective scenario. Yeah. It's going to damage your relationship with your dog less.
Right. You got to be fair to the dog.
Right.
In that.
And
don't expect too much of your dog too soon.
Right. And if the humans can't listen to the rules, you can't expect the dog to understand and keep that structure.
Yep.
All right. The next thing I've got on the list is listener projects. So before we go into that, I'm going to open it up for questions. Jen, I saw your comments there. But Jen says, and there you go. And there you go. Love it. I'm going to unmute you guys. I meant
that to Brianna.
Oh, to Brianna?
Yeah, when she says, oh, I just tell them to go to place.
Yeah, that's like, my favorite.
Right.
It's like, and there you go.
And you'll find Brianna in bed.
Yeah.
Well, I personally struggle with trying to get Chenoa to go to place for me. But I am working on it. My mobility is limited as far as has gotten worse, but like when we have somebody come to the house, especially like if there's a delivery or when the family comes over, as soon as they come through the door, Chenoa is like halfway up Abel's waist. And you know how tall Abel is, Ryan. Mm-hmm. So it's like she just is not that she's attacking, she's just so excited to see them.
Gotcha.
And so it's not just so much the dog being trained, it's the humans being trained, as Cliff has always said, but we are still trying to work with it on her.
Do you, what I know she's grown since the last time that we
Oh yes, y'all should see
did some
her.
things. Does
55
the
pounds
place
now.
bed that
55
you
pounds.
she's 55 pounds now? Oh my gosh. Does the place bed that you guys use, does it move? Can you move it closer to you?
That's what I was going to suggest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would try
Because
to maybe
I would-
restructure for a little bit and put the place bed close to you so that you can have her on a leash and kind of hold her accountable, but you not have to be mobile in
That
that.
is a wonderful idea.
Because when Chinoa specifically, right, I would say when the dog, but in this case it's Chinoa, when
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
sees the example that, well, because of your mobility, right, just calling it what it is, when you're not going to get up and hold her accountable because you can't, it only
Right.
takes a few times for her to be like, ha,
Yeah.
right? I'm not going to do that. And at that point, now she can kind of take control of that interaction.
Yeah.
But by moving that place bed closer to you and then just having her on a simple leash, you can simply just be like, no, I am going to hold you accountable. You're going to go on your place.
Yep.
And by working through that with repetition, she'll understand that expectation and start to build that into her. Like that's her. I'm looking for a word and I'm lost. You're just staring at me over
I
there.
don't know, her home base. I have no idea what you're
Right.
trying
So
to say.
the same concept of how our dogs naturally go to their place bed, we've increased the value of that place bed. That's where they get treats. That's where they get attention. That's where they get like engagement from us. So as you move that bed closer to you, that bed will have more value to her also.
Right.
Yeah, because like I said,
Because a lot of
place beds
times
can
dogs-
be moved around, and that's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite things about it is like you can put a place bed wherever you want to.
Right. And a lot of times dogs like to be closer to you, right? That's what she wants to do. So
Yeah.
by putting it closer to you, you automatically raise the value of that bed at the beginning. Then when you tell her and you use those repetitions and then hold her accountable to go there, you will find that you'll improve that situation.
Yep.
Yeah. She's actually gotten like one time a day she'll come up in the middle of the day and she wants to be at the foot of my recliner with my recliner raised and she just lays there. And so she just lays there on the end of the recliner. But I am going to move the bed over. I'm going to start doing that tomorrow.
Awesome.
Moving it over close to me so that I can have her more accountable.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome. All right. Does anyone else have a question about anything that we talked
Did
about
you have
tonight?
something?
Oh, Cliff?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Awesome.
Mine is laziness and time. It's still more of the trainer's issue than the dog's issue.
Okay.
Well, let us know how it goes moving the bed closer.
I will.
Awesome,
And
thanks.
I can't wait for you. We can get a dry day so we can bring her so you guys can see her.
I
Yeah,
know.
bring her to group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Group
Yeah,
class.
we've been meaning to. We keep forgetting.
Well, hopefully we'll see ya.
Yep.
Hopefully the weather will start cooperating.
Yeah.
Right. No more 19 inches of snow. All right. Does anybody else have a question for tonight, or we will wrap it up with the listener projects? I'll give you a quick second here. All right. So listener project number 1, sit before greetings. So put the dog on a leash before the greetings ever happen. We talked through a couple of different ways you can do that. But even if this is at the end, like what Brianna was saying, even at the end of the interaction, ask for a sit before the person approaches. We remove attention at the moment the dog stands or jumps. So someone moving towards the dog and the dog gets all excited and everything starts to wiggle around and the dog leaves that position of the sit. You don't have to do anything. That person just backs up. That's called a negative punishment, where you are removing something that the dog wanted, and by removing it, you decrease the likelihood that they're going to do it again. Negative punishment. So when that person removes their attention, that is the punishment. Then we reward the dog all with that attention from that person or the closeness of that person only when 4 paws stay on the floor. Practice it daily or practice it every time you have an opportunity. All right, project number 2, place during door activities. So send the dog to place before we open the door. I like to train the dog that the doorbell means go to your place. So instead of the doorbell being, oh my gosh, someone's at the door and I've got to crowd the door, it's the doorbell rings and that's a cue to go to my place. Reward calm behavior on the bed. So when they stay there and they're on their bed, that's when we reward that calm behavior. That's when we give them good things. And we release them only once they've settled. Use it for guests, deliveries, arrivals, anything like that. All right. That's all I got for you.
All right.
So, thank you for tuning in tonight. Thank you, everybody that was on the call. Try to stay warm out there. The next week's topic is going to be on barking for attention. And going forward, I really would love some comments and things. We've got 400, I think we're up to like 412 listens on the podcast. So that is awesome. But I would love to hear from anybody listening after the fact. If you've got something specific that you would like to hear about or something specific you're dealing with your dog, just send me a message, send me an email, and we'll get on it. But that is all I've got for tonight. So we're going to start to close it out here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate it. Thank you, and good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See you guys later.